Doug Du Bois. Doug Du Bois, 12 years a member, as well as Gwen Kalal, three years. So congratulations to both of them. Kelly may have some updates here for the website. We've got a lot of things already in place and things futures shortly coming. So Kelly, you want to give us
an update, we're back up and running. I am going to make sure everyone knows. Can you see the website okay?
Not yet. Now we can.
Okay, so this is our new website. It's the same URL. Couple important things to keep in mind is you'll always see the next programs up at the top, and there's more information, and you can click to register. Look, it's John. If you go to the section that says events, you'll be able to click on that and see like a list of upcoming events. This is really cool because you can print it out, and that makes it really helpful. The other thing that we have completed right now is our youth recognition section. So you can scroll down and see information about the upcoming basketball event, for example. So you'll be able to get information about it. And then you can also go down and see previous scholars. So we have that in place for basketball. We have that in place for Abe Lincoln. You can see our recipients of the scholarships. We have it in place for football, the Female Athlete Award, and the East Scholarship. So there'll be more coming. We'll be working on our community impact page, and we'll be starting a page on service leadership as well. We have a new platform that we're going to be using internally so that you all can communicate with one another, and that is called Member Day. So if you click on the section over here that says member login, you'll have access to that, and we'll be talking more about that sometime soon.
Great. Thank you.
Yay, Kelly. Thank you.
It was a little disruptive, but I think we're getting back on track with
great.
Yeah, we were only without it for like a couple
so that wasn't that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this week we've got 32 teams competing with the boys basketball state finals. Then we'll host the top 8 teams at Primo's on Friday the 29th with the 78th annual state finals lunch. Can you get on mute? Okay. And we will be joined by friends at IHSAA, the Pacers, and Greg Rakestraw, who will interview coaches and teams. If you're interested in tickets, please go to indykiwanis.org/basketball and get your tickets for Friday the 29th. Nominations for the academic MVP scholarship is due next week, and we'll need to get a small group to interview the scholars to review the applications. So if you're interested in that, please let Kelly or me know. Abe Lincoln Committee is meeting next Saturday, the 16th, or this Saturday, the 16th on Zoom. And IOZO's Monday, the 18th. Let Roger know if you're interested.
Mary, you're on mute. Mary, you are on mute.
I don't know why it does that. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. On the 23rd, Roger, Laura Holloway, and Tom Eubanks and I will attend the Kiwanis, Indiana District Mid-Year Conference. And at that conference, we're going to be presenting a $5,000 check to Riley for the Reach Out Indiana initiative. On the 26th, in Broad Ripple, we're going to have our social supper at Fernando's. If you're interested, please let me know. We're going to meet there at 5:30. It's Mexican and Portuguese. I can't remember. Brazilian. So that should be good. We've got a good crowd so far. So join the crowd and let me know you're coming so I can RSVP. Let's see. The $3,500 Female Athlete Award is April 23rd. We'll have complimentary a block of tickets as a sponsor at the high school sports awards, and that'll be at Clues Hall. So we're excited about that. And do we have anyone who's delivered checks on the call recently? No, I don't think we do. No, we don't. Okay. Now on to the main event.
Mary, we have Art who can talk about Teachers' Treasures.
Oh, Art, you're here. Yes. Teachers' Treasures, please.
Okay. Well, last month I had the honor of presenting a $5,000 grant award to Teachers' Treasures. Met with Margaret Sheehan, she's the executive director, and Hannah Yeager, who is the community development person. Oh, there we are. And Teachers' Treasures provides school supplies for free to teachers in Marion County if the school where they teach has 60% or more of their students on federal meal assistance. So that's pretty close to all of the schools in Marion County, and they can be public, private, charter, what have you. And one of the thing that the teachers do is that they are able to shop once a month for free at the store, which is near 10th and College. And they usually get about $300 or $400 each time they shop, and they can shop once a month during the school year. And one of the challenges that Teachers' Treasures is that the teachers at some of the outlying county schools can't necessarily get to, or can't always get to, the location near 10th and College after school, shopping. So what they're developing or working towards is an online platform for teachers at Perry Township specifically. And that's what this grant is going to be used for. And hopefully if that works out well, they'll expand it so that more teachers can avail themselves to the free school supplies, even if they can't get to the store specifically. So anyway, so that was a great thing to be able to do for them, to help them as a foundation grant recipient.
It's always rewarding when we get to present those grants. So if anyone is interested in doing that, please let us know. It's a feel-good moment when you get to do that, and then they get to come back and share with us all the value that money gave to them to provide to others and to children. So great job. Thank you. John? I don't think he's on. Okay. Let's see. Now for our presentation. So John Shertzer is a board member of the Kiwanis Club of Northwest Indianapolis. From 2010 to 2017, he served as Kiwanis International's Chief Programs Officer and led all Kiwanis youth programs. Prior to joining the Congressional Medal of Honor Society in 2022, he was Executive Director of the Society of Professional Journalists, founded and led the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council, and served as Program Director of Leadership Indianapolis, which operates the Stanley K. Lacey Executive Leadership Series. He also held a senior role with the North American Interfraternity Conference, serving the needs of undergraduate members, alumni members, and professional association staff and board members. So John, take it away. And you're
All right. Thank you guys. Really appreciate the opportunity to be there. That bio, I appreciate you reading that. I would add probably the most important thing in my Kiwanis family work that I do is I'm the advisor for the K Kids at Club at Crossing Elementary, which I love those guys. They're an amazing group of fifth graders, and I have fun seeing them every couple of weeks. But the Kiwanis family has meant a lot to me. My dad is retired or just finished being president of his Kiwanis Club in Bowling Green, Ohio. And of course, I had a wonderful time working in the headquarters on behalf of all the members worldwide, but really enjoy the opportunity to stay engaged with Kiwanis as much as possible, which includes being with you here today. So thank you so much for giving me this chance. At some point, I hope to be joined by Kent Abernathy, who's the president of the Indiana War Memorials Foundation. He's going to put in some information once we get to more of the specifics of Indianapolis. But I can also cover it if for some reason he's delayed or can't be here, but we'll look forward to him joining as well. As you heard described, I've been involved with lots of fraternal type organizations, you could say, and I'm proud to be a part of probably what I would consider to be the most elite one currently, and that's the Medal of Honor Society, and that is the organization that cares for and preserves the legacy of the Medal of Honor. So I am going to share a presentation here with you today as we walk through it together. I will save some time for questions as well. So feel free to hang on to some of those, or you can interrupt me at any time. I'm fine with that as well. So what I want to talk to you about, and the reason why I think this is timely, and I appreciate the invitation this month, is a week from Monday, March 25th, is considered and celebrated nationwide as Medal of Honor Day. It commemorates the day that the first Medal of Honor was bestowed by President Lincoln all the way back in 1863. So it is considered Medal of Honor Day. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing to celebrate that. But March is an important month for us. Part of the celebration of Medal of Honor Day, and it's unique and we're glad to have that, is we're going to have an event here in Indianapolis, and that is because it is the 25th anniversary of the memorial, which is along White River State Park there, right by Military Park. The memorial that was erected 25 years ago, which is we'll talk about in a little bit more specifics in a moment. But on March 22nd, which is the Friday before before Medal of Honor Day, 4 recipients will be here to commemorate that 25th anniversary. They will attend the NCAA first round game that night, get Gamebridge Fieldhouse, be introduced courtside, and do a couple of other things while they're here in town. So really special opportunity for Indianapolis to host these American heroes, and then here also celebrate our legacy here in town of celebrating the Medal of Honor. So one of the things I thought I'd start with, and some of you may be well aware of the Medal of Honor, and when I took on this role, I don't have military service in my own personal background. I obviously have family members, like we all do, who have served over time, but I consider myself a person who is very patriotic and supportive of our military and our armed services. And when this opportunity came about, I jumped at the chance to serve in this way. But a lot of this information I'll share with you about the Medal of Honor was somewhat new to me as well. So, but some of you may be vast experts on it as well. So we'll kind of go through to kind of get a level set here about the Medal of Honor, 10 facts about this award. The first being that of the over 4 million, and I think this is the number I heard, but I think it could be even higher than that, individuals who've served in the military since the Civil War, just over 3,500 have received the Medal of Honor. And there are only 63 living recipients. Unfortunately, over the last month, we've had 2 of our Vietnam era recipients pass away. So we only have 63 living recipients. It's a very rare group, obviously, over time and in modern where we are today as well. And it started since the Civil War. So Abraham Lincoln bestowed the first medal, and it was developed and conceived after that conflict, or during that conflict, I should say, and presented there. And so it's been awarded ever since. It's normally awarded by the President of the United States, but presented in the name of the United States Congress. But where you see the Medal of Honor awarded, it's typically the President, of course, putting that around the neck of the recipient, as you see in the picture there of Lyndon Johnson doing that back then. So it's normally awarded by the President, and that's where, especially these days when it's a rare award that's given, the President uses that as an opportunity to showcase the medal and be there to do that. Criteria for the Medal of Honor. I have that listed there, and I won't read that to you, but it is, again, essentially for valor in combat. So it is the highest award that is given by the military for valor in combat. So these are the stories of folks risking life and limb to serve their country, to save a fellow soldier, to do something extraordinary that changed the course of a conflict or a battle. Movies made about these folks because the stories are so profound, and really when you start to read them and understand them, you can as I do, sit in awe of all that they've done and provided. Not again, we only have 63 living recipients, but I should note that you can receive the medal posthumously. So you can receive it even if someone died in their conflict, they can still get the medal afterwards presented to the family. So it's sometimes and a lot of times awarded to someone who sacrificed their life to do the action that resulted in receiving the Medal of Honor. All recommendations. So this is sort of how I get the question a lot, and I wondered it myself. How does somebody elevate up to the level of receiving the Medal of Honor? It is often put forward by an officer or someone who commanded this individual or knows the story and can put it forward. And it requires witnesses, it requires evidence. So it's a pretty rigorous process to ensure that what occurred did occur and that there's evidence to that fact. Now, you'll see there that most of the time they try to award it almost immediately after the action, within a few years. But what you'll see lately, and if you pay attention to these things, the last couple of Medal of Honor recipients have been Vietnam era. So clearly years and decades since the action that they took. Sometimes it can get delayed, and it's delayed for a multitude of reasons, maybe too many to even describe. But a lot of times it has to do with ensuring that evidence is there, or sometimes it just gets lost in the vast bureaucracy of the chain of command and such. So it's important that they still are able to eventually award and determine that someone was worthy of that award. All right. The Medal of Honor is the only U.S. military medal that hangs around the neck. So you'll note if you meet a Medal of Honor recipient wearing their medal, pretty apparent right there around the neck. I thought that's interesting. And there are 3 medals: the Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard Medal of Honor, the Army Medal of Honor, and the Air Force Medal of Honor. The first one that was developed was the Navy. So the Army came just shortly thereafter, and then later on the Air Force has a medal as well. They're not pictured in the order that they're listed there on the screen. You might be able, for the sharp eye, to kind of see some symbols that tell you which is which. For instance, the middle one, you'll note a symbol of the Navy, in a sense, the anchor that the medal's hanging from. So that will tell you that that's the Navy medal. There's other symbols that will show you some of the others on the right. As you're looking at it, is the Air Force medal. You see the wings and the thunderbolts at the top of the medal, and then the one on the far left is the Army. But there are only 3 designs of the Medal of Honor. Only one woman has received the Medal of Honor, and this was back in Civil War time. There's a great story. You should read the story of Mary Walker. She was the recipient, the one female recipient of the medal, largely and essentially because it's been a combat medal and women have just started taking on combat roles. So should future medals be awarded decades hence, likely more women will receive the medal, but it just hasn't been the case that they've been in the combat roles and it is a award for combat. Non-US citizens can receive the Medal of Honor. I thought that was an interesting fact that I learned, and there have been several. Medal of Honor recipients are saluted by superior officers. So that's an interesting fact. This great story of one of our recipients, and he met the President of the United States, and the President saluted him, and he got nervous because he wondered who's behind him. The President was saluting, and he didn't realize, oh, it's me. So I just thought that's an interesting, it's how revered they are for the action that they took. And specific to Indiana, Indiana has 100 recipients, including pictured there, retired Army Sergeant First Class Sammy Davis, who will be joining us in about a week to celebrate the memorial in Indianapolis. Sammy is a great individual, lives in Freedom, Indiana, just down the road, and a Vietnam era recipient. And he is just, if you haven't had a chance to hear him speak or meet him, I hope you do get that chance. He's extraordinary, and we're proud as Indiana to be home to Sammy. A little interesting fact about Sammy, some of you may know, but others may not, is Sammy's ceremony, the film footage of that was used in the movie Forrest Gump. So Forrest Gump, if you watch the movie, receives the Medal of Honor as part of his story in that movie. What they did was they took the footage of Sammy's ceremony and superimposed Tom Hanks' head onto the body of Sammy, and their movie magic were able to make that happen. So that is actually Sammy's ceremony, and Sammy's called the real Forrest Gump for that reason. And actually, I was at an event earlier this or late last year, where Tom Hanks received an award from our society for the service that he provides to veterans. And he met Sammy for the first time and heard that story for the first time there. So it was kind of interesting for him to recount. He didn't know that. So, but those two got to meet, and I thought that was a very cool and fun story. All right, so I want to talk quickly about some more of the local. Let me see if Kent has joined us yet. Is Kent online? Doesn't look like it. So I can talk a little bit more about it. So here's a bonus fact for you. The bonus fact is that the Medal of Honor Memorial here in Indianapolis, which hopefully you've seen or walked past, and now maybe we'll spend more time at now that we've had this conversation today, it is only one of 3 congressionally designated memorials in the country. Wonder if you know where the others are. It's a pretty obscure piece of trivia. If you happen to know or want to throw that into the chat, you can, or share that later on, and I can share the answer before we end here today. But there's really 3 memorial congressionally designated, and we're lucky to host one of them. And so it is 25 years old this year. So it was dedicated 25 years ago. Some local community civic leaders took it upon themselves to make this thing happen. It is a beautiful memorial. It has all the names of the recipients etched into it. And like I said, on a week from Friday, 4 of the living recipients will walk to that medal and lay a wreath in honor of Medal of Honor Day. It'll be a pretty special moment and a pretty special event for our city. This memorial is managed by the Indiana War Memorials Commission. They manage all the war memorials and monuments and such throughout the city. And then the Indiana War Memorials Foundation helps raise the funds to keep these things well-structured, maintained, looking as impressive as they ought to. So those 2 local forces are really important to making these things happen. It's one of the things that, I've been learning as I'm going throughout this process is Indiana, apart from having the second most monuments devoted and memorials devoted to the military, second only to Washington, D.C., it actually has the most acreage devoted to monuments and commemorations of military service. And that is quite a legacy of our city. And so can't wait to showcase that to the recipients that will be with us. Before we go any further, maybe, why don't we do this? I'll go through the next portion, then we'll open it up for questions. We'll just kind of put all the questions out at once. Like I said, I'm still learning about the Medal of Honor myself somewhat. I've only been in the job for a couple of years, so you might find ways to stump me with questions about the medal in particular, which would be fine. We'll find those answers together and have fun doing that. But it is a pretty extraordinary piece of American heritage, and just really proud to work on behalf of these men to make that happen, to make it be honored and celebrated in the way that it is. But let me tell you a little bit about why this all matters and the work that we do. So I work with the Medal of Honor Foundation, which is aligned almost directly with the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. We're basically the society's fundraising arm, the foundation that supports the work of our recipients and what they're trying to do. Well, what are they trying to do? The recipients, when they receive that medal, become a part of that fraternity, that Congressional Medal of Honor Society. And in a sense, even without asking for it, but they step up to the call regardless, they become ambassadors of America's values. They become ambassadors of the things that make our country strong, make our country great, and in many circumstances are falling precipitously within our country, and polls and surveys will show that. So I want to share with you a little bit too about why we're doing what we're doing. We believe, and have used the language, we think there's a values crisis in America today, and this is based around a lot of stats and surveys and polls that many of you have probably read, and that are pretty stark in what they say. We actually commissioned a poll last year with Ipsos to try to figure out where do people stand on values in our country today. And what we found is that about 7 in 10 Americans don't think we focus enough on value and character in our country today. Almost 8 in 10 believe that compared to previous generations, American society is less values-based than it once was. And 9 in 10 Americans believe there are challenges to youth being able to learn values and characters today. So if you had a lineup of 10 people, 9 of them would step forward and say they are worried about how youth are learning and engaging with values and character in our country currently, which is scary, and it's probably something that you would find a lot of people agree with. Obviously, the surveys show that. These are a couple stats that always make my jaw drop a little bit. Only 38% of Americans in a survey last year by the Wall Street Journal said that patriotism is very important to them, compared to 70% who said that not that long ago. So there's been a 32-point drop in that question over 25 years. And that is a decline that should worry a nation like ours. Americans who valued involvement in their community as very important fell from a high of 62% to 27% in 2019. Or it fell in 2023 to 27%. So that's only a 35-point drop in 4 years. That is another significant decline in what is a traditional American value: citizenship and serving your community. And then this last stat that I'll share with you that is worrisome a little bit is pride in being an American has really declined as well. There were some high points in the early 2000s, but since then has really dropped quite extensively to where we are today. So you put all those things together, and it paints a troubling picture of where we are in values with our country these days. It's not to get all dark and stark about all this stuff, but it's to say there's an issue, and it ought to be one that we ought to think about. And how do we help reboost and restore some of those core values that are important? Because not only will that help make our country more values-based again, but it can maybe address some of the lack of civility issues we see in our nation today, and the divisiveness and some of the things that are sending our youth in bad directions. So it's something that we believe America is in need of: role models, stories that guide our beliefs, values education, and influx of some pretty core values. And these just happen to be the same core values that Medal of Honor recipients hold as the Medal of Honor values: courage, commitment, sacrifice, integrity, patriotism, and citizenship. So if America needs those things and is calling upon an organization to deliver on those things, especially for its young people, our Medal of Honor recipients want to step up and take on that challenge. Our recipients are, if you hear them speak, if you get to engage with them, are some of our most effective communicators and ambassadors of these messages of values and character and integrity and sacrifice that you would ever hear. And so what we do as a foundation, and this is the Congressional Medal of Honor Society, is try to get them in positions to do that as much as possible. So like a week from Friday when they're here, there will be a panel discussion where they're going to talk about the things that they care about, and the values and those, some of the things that we just addressed. And so wherever we can get them in front of audiences, communicating with youth, communicating with community leaders and members, we try our best to make that happen. Because we believe that, like I just said, that they're uniquely suited to address this and are very key in how we approach and address these issues. So how do we do that? So what are some of the ways and some of the real practical ways in which we do that? Like I just said, we try to get them in front of the audiences wherever we can, but we have 4 core things really that we try to achieve. First is our character development program. So the Medal of Honor Foundation funds a K-12 curriculum that is placed into a school setting. It can be any type of school, but it can be in really any type of format. We've seen schools put it into their social studies curriculum. We've seen schools put it into their English curriculum. We've seen them use it as an after-school program. We've seen them use it as, in a lot of ways. But it is a fully designed curriculum by teachers, and it has all this meets standards and all that teachers care about, so they can easily implement it in their classrooms. And it's based on Medal of Honor stories. So what the students go through is they see videos, they read about Medal of Honor stories, and they apply some of the lessons to their own personal lives. So you saw courage in this story. Where does courage take place in your own life, for instance? Or integrity matters here. How does integrity matter to you? So it really tries to help apply those lessons to their daily lives. Valor Outreach is our opportunities where we get recipients in front of community groups. So that's essentially that. So where we can find audiences for them to address and speak about their stories. Our Citizen Honors, which is coming up at the same day on Medal of Honor Day, it's the way we celebrate Medal of Honor Day in Washington, D.C., is our recipients determine 5 recipients of the Citizen Honors Awards. These are community members and citizens who have done extraordinary acts that reflect in the same regard and with the same power as the Medal of Honor values. So these are folks who have done something extraordinary, and they receive a medal for doing that, and we honor them in that way. So it's a great way to prop up role models from everyday life to show that you don't have to just be out there in a combat situation. You can be living your day-to-day life and do something extraordinary that makes a big difference. And then we have a museum on the USS Yorktown in Charleston, South Carolina that we maintain. And we have a whole set of archives, collection of things from the Medal of Honor recipients and their families that we maintain. So I want to wrap up by just saying, and then take questions, just say that the Medal of Honor recipients and the Medal of Honor obviously means a lot to our country, and it means a lot to the military. What we're trying to do is take those lessons, take those values, and transmit them to the next place, which is our society and our communities and our schools, to help students, to help others really start to internalize what that can mean for them. So that's the ongoing mission of our Medal of Honor recipients. That's the ongoing mission of our society and our foundation. So that's what I get pleased. That's what I'm pleased to do. And I'm excited to host, like I said, the recipients next week. But let me see, before we jump into questions, Kent must have gotten called away or something. So I'll just go ahead and open it up for questions and let you all take the floor as we discuss this any further.
So if you have a question, take yourself off of mute and go ahead and speak.
Hi, Johnny. It's Jeff Otis. Sorry, I've lost my voice.
Hey, Jeff.
It's good to see you. Miss
Good
you,
to see
bud. Quick question. It seems like I could be hallucinating, but it seems like I saw some sort of like episode with Hard Knocks or some such thing. Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys have some sort of relationship with your organization. Do they have one, and what is it?
It's a great question. So our relationship is more of a partnership or a collaboration with them. That is a separate entity that was developed to form a museum in Arlington, Texas, that is for the Medal of Honor and the Medal of Honor recipients. And we support that effort, and the recipients are all on board with that effort. But that is not our program, per se, you could say, but we support it. And Jerry Jones has taken it and ran with it. The new museum will be placed right next to the Cowboys Stadium there. It'll be a pretty large and elaborate museum offering that walks you through the stories of the Medal of Honor recipients and so on and so forth. And since they launched that effort, every year you'll see the recipients are hosted at a Cowboys game, or they're really trying to boost the recipients' presence. And we definitely appreciate that.
Hi, John. This is Mary Marsh.
Mary?
My son and I were fortunate enough to attend that ceremony 25 years ago when we dedicated that. And so proud that it's in Indianapolis. Will you review again the time and date when they're going to be laying the wreaths, that so we can know when to attend?
Yeah, so the event is on March 22nd. It's a Friday, and it's at 1 o'clock, be held at the Indiana State Museum. And that is, so we're going to be in the museum where you can kind of look out the glass of the museum to see the memorial. And then from there, recipients will walk across the canal, across the bridge there to lay the wreath. And, it's a smaller ceremony. A smaller event. So, I'll definitely get you some information, Mary. It's an invitation event, but we definitely would want anyone who's had been there the first time around to really take part in that.
Great. Thank you.
John, this is Greg Silver. Hello. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, Greg.
And Kiwanis is certainly a partner with everything you talked about getting the dignity back in our country. I wanted to tell you about something that I did with John Kerry. I don't know if he's one of the Medal of Honor winners, but because of his Vietnam work, Fowler, and also Senator. So he came here, and I was with him, and he wanted to go over there. So this is about 15 years ago. He was a senator then. And so we went over there, and we talked about this and how important it was, and we laid flowers, and we talked. And I have a picture of that I want to show you that I have somehow kept over these years of he there with me at the Medal of Honor and he thought it was the most important thing in Indianapolis, although we were on other issues. But I'll tell you, it's very so important to let a leader emphasize valor. And yeah, we need to get back to that. And I thank you so much for what you're doing. And I know John Kerry is an ally for sure if you ever need him. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's fantastic.
For those of you who have been in our Kiwanis Club for many, many decades, you will recall that Sergeant Sammy Davis was one of our speakers one year. And after the meeting, I went up to him to tell him, thank you for what you've done, but also that I was in an Army Reserve. And before I got the end of the word nurse out of my mouth, he had a bear hug around me and said, thank you for what you do. Army nurses saved my life in Vietnam. It was very touching for him to do that. And it was just instantaneous on his part.
That's one of the things. Thank you for sharing that, Mary. One of the things I've learned from meeting these recipients is that I think I mentioned this too, how humble they are. A lot of situations. So one thing to keep in mind, and it's important to note, I should have this in the presentation, we're never refer to them as winners. They don't win the Medal of Honor. They receive it. These men did not want this. Most of them would give it back if it meant that they could go back in time and it meant that their comrades wouldn't have fallen or there wouldn't have been this chaos that they had to experience. But they see it as they carry it for others and they carry it to support a greater cause than themselves. And Sammy is one of the best at conveying that. And, a lot of these guys left people behind and they wear it for them. And so, but they're truly wonderful people to get to meet and know if you ever get a chance.
John, this is Steve Robinson. I just got a question. Have there been any Medal of Honor winners that have come out of the all the Middle East crisis and strikes and everything?
Yes, we've had, I believe I can look back at this, but I believe we have 17 who've received what we consider their medal from the Global War on Terror. So those would be conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. So that's, yes, we do have some. And those 3 of the 4 guys who are coming next week are from those conflicts. So,
and who's your most recent Medal of Honor recipient?
Our most recent, interestingly enough, recent was another Vietnam era individual named Larry Taylor, who received the medal a few months ago. And unfortunately, he received it later in life. And unfortunately, Larry passed away. Captain Taylor passed away just a few weeks ago. So I'm glad he was alive to get the medal. But, obviously that's where I say that sometimes these things get clogged up in the process. And, if you read his citation, you were confused why he didn't get it till now, but I'm glad he got it, but then he passed away. So, but like I said, sometimes these previous conflicts, we're still finding folks who've earned and deserve the medal.
All right. Thank you.
John, this is Roger Cummings. Question about your major programs for schools. Does that go K through 12 or is it specifically for an age group?
No, it goes to K through 12. So we divide it into, we have sort of an elementary and a secondary curriculum, but it can be utilized. So, one of the things I should have put our website out there, but maybe I'll add it to the chat before we leave. If you go on there, you can kind of review all the stuff can be downloaded off the website. So we try to just our best to get out to teachers and say, you can find this material out there. But yeah, K through 12, I think we find more of it used in the high school setting, but the lessons are designed. There's lessons for each side.
Looks like a great program.
Yeah, where it's implemented, it's fantastic. So, and that's the reporting we get back. We've trained about 80,000 teachers in that. So, we're trying to expand that as far as possible. Many of you who work in schools, and I know Kiwanians do, know that, character education, civics education, some of those things are getting axed because there's the standards around academics have become so pressing that sometimes those things get left to the cutting room floor, and we're trying to get them back into the schools and say, these are appropriate. So the way to do that is make it as easy as possible, try to meet the standards, try to get it to teachers, design it for teachers so that they can come in and make it work.
Right.
Can we make this work through the key clubs also?
I would love to eventually, and yes, could happen today, but I would love to even have a conversation to figure out how do we, utilize some of these, if not fully the curriculum, but some of these activities within the key club setting. Sandy Nininger, who is the big award in Key Club is named for Sandy Nininger, as a Medal of Honor recipient from, I believe, World War II.
I got a question for you off subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
What club do you belong to?
Northwest Indianapolis.
Northwest. Do you know a guy named Tim Jones?
Ken Jones?
Tim
Jones. I don't believe I do.
He's a teacher at Tech. Okay.
Yeah.
He was president of one of those clubs, Northeast or Northwest.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're predominantly Pike Township area,
Yeah.
so that's our footprint.
That's great.
John,
Yeah.
how are nominations made to them for Medal of Honor? Who makes them, or is it coming from who makes those nominations?
So they tend to come from within the through the chain of command within the different services. So if you are the commanding officer for someone who has done something that deserves the Medal of Honor, you take it up through your chain all the way up to the head of that branch, who it's decided at those levels. The president ultimately signs off, but that's once it's forwarded up to that point, it's typically endorsed at that point. Now, I think from what I understand, Congress sometimes has to get involved, because if there is if it's past that 3-year window and they still want to award it, then Congress passes a resolution to allow for that. I believe congressional representatives can get engaged in nominations in that process. I'm still learning all that, because it's very loose in a sense, as far as it can come from different sources.
So those of you who have served in the military pitch in, but so what happens is an event occurs, and either you do an after action report, or it's part of their evaluation of what happened in that event. Someone, usually it's a commander, it could be a peer, puts them in for an award, and depending on what criteria, they could put them in for a Silver Star or a Medal of Honor. And then depending on, and each of those different levels need a different level of general officer. Maybe it could be a 3-star, it could be a 4-star before it's signed off. Sometimes someone will put someone in for a Medal of Honor and it will be downgraded to a Silver Star. Other times people will put someone in for a Silver Star as a temporary award, knowing that it's going up for review for Medal of Honor. It can get complicated, but that's basically how it's done.
Great, thank you. Kent Abernathy is on the call. He joined us. And Ken, I just want you to say a quick hello to the group. He's president of the War Memorials Foundation. So that memorial we were talking about, he's responsible for helping make sure that thing stays looking as amazing as it does. So.
Yeah, no, thanks, John. As John said, president of the Indiana War Memorials Foundation. We're a 501c3. We support the commission. There's a War Memorial, Indiana War Memorial Commission, which is a quasi governmental agency here in Indiana that oversees and maintains the monuments. Not too many people know, but with the 23 acres we have under management in the historic plaza downtown Indianapolis, largest amount of acreage under management any place in the country. And as far as monuments and memorials to honor our service members, we're second only to Washington, D.C. in the number of memorials and monuments we have to honor our veterans and all. So we do fundraising and all to help support. They get some funding from the state, but unfortunately, not enough to cover all the costs for maintaining all these various monuments and memorials and all. So the latest one we had, the last one we had was several years ago. We put a Gold Star family memorial built here, added to the plaza, honoring the Gold Star families, which are families who have lost a service member in conflict.
So we're lucky as a city to have all of these monuments and memorials as a way to pay tribute. We're lucky to have the commission and the foundation, the Indiana War Memorials Foundation and Commission. They do amazing work. I've been able to work with Kent and his board on this event we're planning to celebrate Medal of Honor Day here. If for nothing else, now you can stay more aware of what's happening there and help spread the word about all these wonderful things that are out there that commemorate and showcase our military men and women.
Hey, John, if I could, and if anyone here in Indianapolis, if you go down, we always say the War Memorial itself, which is sort of the centerpiece of all this, is one of the best kept secrets in Indianapolis. There's a full museum there downstairs there that is pretty phenomenal. And if you're lucky enough to go there, or if you'd like to go there, let us know and we can coordinate. The executive director there is a retired Air Force General, Seward Goodwin. He gives what he calls the Gilligan's Islands tour, the 3-hour tour. And it's amazing because he does know beyond the story behind a lot of the displays there, but between that and just all the memorials and monuments there, it's pretty, we say, even people who live here aren't even aware of what that gym we have there, and I'm pretty proud of it.
I've had an opportunity to go through it, and it is phenomenal. And it's great to see school kids go through it because it helps them learn history of America. And Kent, you might want to know that several people from our club have been on your foundation board over the years, and we're happy to serve.
Oh, great.
Any other questions? Or I know we're up, I know the timing it matters as well. Our Northwest Indianapolis club, we ring the bell we're a morning club, so we ring the bell right at 8:30, so everybody gets there.
John, Greg Silver, one last question. Is it possible for maybe a pass or invitation for Mary to represent us or Kelly at this 22nd event? Because I think we would be on the same page with you guys, and as a Kiwanis group, maybe we could be there. Not that yours also is important as ours, but maybe Mary and Kelly could come or could represent us if you invited us.
Yeah, let me chat with Kent and then I'll get that information out. I think that's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you there.
Great. All right. Thank you, Kent. Thank you, John. We appreciate your being here and sharing this information with us. We will be making a donation in your honor to 100 cameras for 100 kids. Their mission is to provide 100 deserving kids with cameras each year, fostering creativity, self-expression, and the development of important life skills. Through the lens of a camera, they can tell their stories, document their journeys, and explore the world around them in an entirely new way. We've donated to them in the past, and so we continue to do it through these honorariums. All right, it's time for dad joke. Here we go. It's really corny. What do ticks and the Eiffel Tower have in common? They're both parasites. I know, it's bad. Parasites.
Thank you, John, very much.
Good job, Mary.
Thank you,
John.
everyone. And remember, next Thursday, we are on Zoom. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Mary, we're going to have to work on your jokes, Mary.
They're bad. They're so bad. My dad was corny. That's all I can say. Bye-bye.